Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the official YouTube channel of Officer Sara 24/7. How are you all? So this is the particular session for your PPBs, for your IFS subject, in which we are discussing Indian economy, Indian financial system, all the topics in a particular detail with the practice of the questions. Okay. So if I talk about the IFS subject, we know it's a kind of a subject that have a lot of to cover. A lot of things are there which we have to cover in this particular subject, because it's a very lengthy subject and it covers two subjects mainly. We have to cover the Indian economy as well as the Indian financial system. These are the two things we have to cover in this particular subject. Now, if I talk about the IFS subject, we have 45 units. How many units are there? Total 45 units are there. So every day we are taking one unit, we are discussing a particular topic regarding to that particular unit, and then we continue with the MCQs. Now, there are certain units which need more than one part. So what we are doing here, we are having a particular units 2 or 3 parts. Maybe in 2 parts it will be completed, maybe in 3 or 4 parts it will be completed. So accordingly we are taking the sessions. Now, if you guys haven't seen the earlier sessions, or if it is your first session for IFS subject, do make sure you check the playlist and watch the recorded sessions available there, which I have already taken for the unit number 1, 2, 3 and 4. Because today I will be discussing the unit number 5, that is infrastructure, including the social infrastructure. Okay, so let's start. Before starting with the discussion of this particular topic, what actually the infrastructure is. Let's discuss what is infrastructure. If I am talking about infrastructure, infrastructure is a kind of basic requirement, I can say, for the growth of the country. If you want to have economic growth, you have to have a proper infrastructure, because with the help of infrastructure you will be having the economic growth. Now, what actually the infrastructure is? Infrastructure is the physical infrastructure or physical network that helps us to link between the certain places or among the certain places. Like for example, if I talk about the railways, roadways, ports, airports, if I'm talking about all these things, they are the kind of physical network. They are helping us to reach from one destination to another. Apart from that, we have certain kind of infrastructure in our country that's helping us to survive in the economy, like the hospitals, like the schools, like your financial institutions. They are the necessary for running the economy on the continuous basis. So these are the kind of institution or kind of physical network in the country that's helping us to run the economy to have the growth. If you do not have a proper infrastructure, you won't be having the economic growth in the country. Now, how so? To understand this statement, let's first understand what actually the economic growth is. So, economic growth relates to the production of the country. Economic growth relates to the production of the country. Whenever the production of a country, you can call it a production, you can call it a national output. Whenever the national output is increasing, you can call it, whenever the economic goods and services are increasing, anything you can call it. It means very simple, whenever the production in a country is increasing, the goods and services is increasing in a particular financial year, it represents the increase in the GDP. So what is GDP actually? Gross domestic product. And gross domestic product says that whatever production happened within the geographical boundary of a country within a financial year, its money value is GDP. So whatever production is happening in the country, increase in the production represents increase in the GDP. And when the GDP is increasing, it means economic growth is increasing, because economic growth represents us the increase in the national output, the increase in the production of a country. So whenever the production is increasing, your GDP will increase, your economic growth will increase. So it is directly related to the production of the country. Now, if you want to increase the economic growth of the country, you have to have an infrastructure. It's a kind of foundation, I can say. Why? Because let's say people were demanding goods and services and you have produced those goods and services. Now what? You have to make those goods and services available for people, no? And when you will be able to make that available for the people, for the end user, for the consumer of yours, when you have a proper infrastructure. When you have a roadways, railways, airways, seaways, then you will be able to transfer the goods from one location to another to give that to the end user. If you do not have connectivity, you won't be able to supply the goods. And if you won't be able to supply the goods, what's the sense of producing it? So that's why I'm saying, if you want to have a proper economic growth, for the economic growth of the country, we need the infrastructure. All kinds of infrastructure. If you remember, or if you have read the news or something, you always see in the rainy season, Himachal, Uttarakhand, these kind of states are there, or Kerala, Karnataka, these kinds of states are there where the transportation somehow affects because of the flood, because of the landslide. And in that time, it's very hard to deliver the goods and services. Even the food supply was not able to be provided. So that's why I'm saying, if you want to have a growth of the country, you have to have a proper infrastructure to make the goods available at the doorsteps of your end user. And that's how infrastructure becomes very important for the growth of the country. Clear? So I hope this is clear to each and every one of you. Now let's start here. So this is our unit number 5, part 1. Okay, unit number 5, part 1 we are discussing. That is infrastructure, including social infrastructure. If the number of classes we are talking about, this is the 13th class. So if you haven't watched the earlier 12 classes, then do make sure you check the recordings, which is available in the playlist of Officers at a 24/7 YouTube channel. Okay. Apart from this, also yesterday I have started the English medium batch. If you haven't seen the orientation class of the English medium batch, then do check that, because we have started PPB in the English medium batches from 20th of November. One demo session will be there on Officers at 24/7 in the evening 8 to 9 p.m. If you want to check the demo session, you can check that. Accordingly, you can enroll in the batch. Now, Module A, unit number 5, we are talking. In the Module A, we have total 11 units. We are discussing about the unit number 5. Let's start. So, the basic understanding I have given you about the infrastructure. Now, let's have a certain theoretical study. Infrastructure investment increases the capital stock required for the economic development. So, we are saying, if you are doing an infrastructure investment, so first of all, infrastructure requires a large scale of investment. Infrastructure requires a long-term investment, because it's not like a kind of work which you can complete within a week or within a month. If you are building a certain physical network, it will take time. It will take years to complete it, right? And that's why it needs a long-term capital for the, it will need a long-term capital and a large scale capital. Clear? Now, infrastructure investment increasing the capital stock requirement, it's very obvious now when you are producing the goods, or when you are establishing the roads, bridges, buildings, etc., they will take time. So that's why it will increase the requirement of the capital for the economic development. Now, what actually the economic development is? So till now we have seen what is economic growth. Now let's discuss what is economic development. If I'm talking about economic development, first of all, economic development is the combination of your economic growth plus welfare, economic welfare. Now, what does it mean? It means, let's say for example, when I'm talking about economic growth, I have told you economic growth means increase in the national output. Whenever the national output is increasing, in simple language, you can call it a production. Whenever the production is increasing, your GDP will increase. And GDP is gross domestic product, and that represents your growth in the economy. So economic growth means increase in the production of goods and services in a country. Clear? Now, it only represents increase in the production. Let's say last year we have produced, let's say for example, India is producing a markers only. Nothing else we are producing, we are only producing markers. So in last financial year, India produced 500 markers. In this financial year, India produced 1000 markers. It means 500 production have been increased. It means it is what? It's a economic growth. The GDP have been increased, economic growth is there. But only the production have been changed. In the country, if we talk about the statistical data, only the production of marker have changed, nothing else has changed. So will it benefit me? Obviously not. It's very obvious if I'm taking my classes, in my class I'm using one marker for the period of 6 months. So in 1 year I will be taking 2 markers. Okay, it's not like my demand have been increased. I will be purchasing only 2 products. It's not like my income has been increased because there are more markets have been produced. So the growth represents the economy, that the economy having a good time, economy having a welfare only. But that's not a development. If you want a development, for the development you have to provide benefit to the human resource. For example, if you want India to become a developed country, or if you want any country to become a developed country, first you have to develop its human resource. Until and unless we have everything which is required to grow, we are not able to grow. Or if we are not growing, it's very obvious country will not grow. So if you want to develop any economy, you have to develop the human resource of the country. For that, after seeing the increase in the GDP, if you find certain positive changes because of the increase in the GDP, if you find the positive changes in the economy, that will represent your economic development. Now, what kind of positive changes we are looking here? So, I am looking here to have a more employment opportunities. I am looking here reduction in the poverty. I am looking here increase in the living standard of mine, because that will be good for me. I want to have a increased living standard. Okay. Apart from that, what I want? I also want the increase in literacy rate. I also want to have a better infrastructure development, etc. So all these are the requirements of the human resource. If I am getting a job, it means I am getting a per capita income. If I am getting a per capita income increase, then it's very obvious I will be getting the high national income as well. Apart from that, if I am getting a job, the poverty from the country will reduce. If I am having a job, it's very obvious I will be capable of purchasing each and every basic needs of mine. I will be able to fulfill my needs as well. So it's very obvious. If I want a money, I need an employment. When I got the employment, I will be out of the poverty after a while. Now, living standard, I am having a better way to live. I am having a better literacy rate, because now I have money, I can enhance my knowledge. When I will be able to enhance my knowledge, I will be getting better opportunities for the job. Let's say I am not literate, so I will not get the better opportunity to work in the country. But if I am literate, I am having a better degree, I am having a better educational background, I will be getting more jobs, right? Then infrastructure development. I am now having a house to live. Earlier I used to live in a kacha makan, but now I have a proper house to live in. So these are what? These are the positive changes that we have seen for the human beings, and that represents your economic development. So if you want to have economic development, first you need to have your increase in the GDP. Your production should increase, but this GDP have to provide certain positive changes. When these two things are together, it will represent your economic development. I hope it is clear. So when you are having an infrastructure investment, you are able to provide these products to the consumer. Okay, and when you produce these goods and services, you will provide job to the people. If they are getting job, they will be out of the poverty, they will be having money, so they will increase their living standard. So similarly, somehow infrastructure is helping us to grow the economy and to develop the economy, and that's what it is very much important for. I hope it's clear. Let me know in the comment section, yes or no. Whatever till now I have discussed, let me know, is it clear? Yes or no? Do write yes or no. Okay, next. So infrastructure investment increases the capital stock required for economic development. Obviously, historically, infrastructure in India has always been funded by the government of the country, and that's true. Always the burden of developing infrastructure, it remains with the government. That's a kind of financial burden government have to develop each and every infrastructure in the country. Okay. Then, however, considering the paucity of public resources and the necessity to redirect precious public resource to health and education, attempts have been made to encourage the private sector investment in the development of this infrastructure. So what we are saying here, first of all, always if you talk about since the starting, always government have this burden to do the social welfare, to provide services to the consumer. Government have this burden to have the infrastructure development, to provide social infrastructure to the people, right? If I am using road, if we are using roads, we are using buildings to live, we are having a railways, roadways, all this have been provided by the government. So all the financial burden used to be on the government. Still it is, but not fully, because now we are using the triple P model for the infrastructure development. Now what is this triple P? Public-private partnership. This triple P have two full forms: purchasing power parity and the public-private partnership. So today we are talking about the public-private partnership. Now you can say source of finance differs greatly between sectors. Some like railways, nuclear power, in these sectors government have the monopoly and government will be investing the money for the infrastructure development. Some industries are dominated by government spending while others are controlled by the overseas development. You are getting a grants, with the help of that fund you are developing the infrastructure, and there are certain sectors in which private services, private sectors, private firms, private industries are providing the funding. Clear? So this is what we are talking about. These are the different sectors having a different ways to have a source of finance. Clear? Now the best model right now is triple P, that is public-private partnership. Now this is what? In the public-private partnership, as the name suggests, this is the kind of model. A lot of types of this model are there, and the maximum used model of triple P is build, operate, transfer. Build, operate, transfer means the government have given the particular project to the private sector. The private sector that build that particular infrastructure, then it will operate for a certain years, and after that it have to transfer the ownership to the government. This is what the build, operate, transfer model of triple P, public-private partnership, and this is the kind of model that has been maximum used for the social infrastructure, for highways development, for airports development, for ports development. This kind of model we are using. So it's very obvious that the government plus private sector, they both are providing finance. They both are providing finance, and this kind of investment, this kind of finance is known as blended finance, when the government and private sector both are investing in the infrastructure projects. Clear? So this is the model. After introducing this model, a little bit of financial burden from the government have been reduced, because now the private sector are participating in the infrastructure projects. Okay, so it become very easy for the government to have the infrastructure development. So you can see it is a preferred model, and after this the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund was introduced by the Government of India to improve the infrastructure finance in the country. Okay, so do remember, public-private partnership model we are using to have the proper infrastructure development in the country, in which government and private sector both are investing funds. Now next, infrastructure is foundation for economic growth. I have already explained this line to you, that infrastructure is what? Foundation for the economic growth, and it also encompasses the physical, natural, organizational structure which is required for the long-term economic development. So it is what? It is the foundation for economic growth. It encompasses the physical, natural and organizational structure which is required for the long-term economic development that will be available. So it's helping out in the economic development, it's helping out in the economic growth, and economic infrastructure facilitate labor capital mobility within between the economies. It means what? Let's say for example, I belongs to the state of Rajasthan. I belongs to Rajasthan. I am here in Haryana and working here. So how it will be possible for me to do? Because there is a certain infrastructure, because there is a roadways, railways, airways. That's why I will be able to take myself from one state to another. So that's what we are talking about. Such kind of labor mobility we have. because we have an infrastructure. Capital mobility, if we talk about internet banking, if we talk about online banking, this is what? This is an infrastructure. Now, let's say for example, there is a particular state which is producing the energy. So you have to transfer that. Every state needs energy, so you have to transfer energy from one state to another. What is required? You required a certain infrastructure. So we have gas pipelines, we have other ways to transfer that particular energy. So if you want to transfer the capital, if you want to transfer the labors, if you want to transfer any certain kind of resources, you need an infrastructure. So that's what we're talking about. If you have an economic infrastructure, it will facilitate you to make sure that between the economies or within the economies, you can easily transfer these resources, whether it is a physical resource, financial resource, or a natural or a, let's say, human resource. All these resources can be transferred if you have an economic infrastructure. Next, when I talk about the infrastructure, there are three definite types of infrastructure you will find. That is, in front of you, we are talking about solid infrastructure, hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure. So what are these? If I am talking about a solid infrastructure, it's simply a kind of infrastructure which help us to produce high quality goods and services. Okay, it is helping us to produce the high quality goods and services, as well as it will provide you the transport of finished item to the marketplaces and builds essential social institution like schools, hospitals. So this is what solid infrastructure is, a kind of infrastructure which is helping us to produce more better quality goods and services. You have a machineries, you have a plants of the industries. They are helping us to produce more goods and services with the quality. Second, they are also providing you the transportation services so that you can make that goods available for the end user. Now, what is marketplace? Marketplace is simply where you find a physical market, where you go to the shop, you tell the seller that what is required to you, and he will be showing you the options. That's what the marketplace is. Similarly, we also have a market space. Now, what is market space? Market space is simply the online market, the e-commerce we guys are having. On Myntra, Amazon, Flipkart, we are doing shopping. So when we do shopping, we use the option there, filter, and we filter as per our requirement. That's a kind of way we are telling the seller that what we are looking for on your website. So simply, when it's a marketplace, it's a physical market, it's a physical shop when you are going and asking the seller to show you the certain options. And the market space is the online market, the online platforms where you are shopping. Okay, so that's what the solid infrastructure is providing you, to have the finished goods from the marketplace, from the shops. It also builds essential social institutions like your schools and hospitals. They are essential to have because they are very basic needs of the country. Without that, you won't be running the economy. Apart from that, now you can see we have a hard and solid soft infrastructure. Hard infrastructure provides us a physical network. It means what? It means provides you road, it provides you ports, it provides you airport, it provides you railways, it provides you pipelines, etc. So the kind of infrastructure which helps you to have a physical network like roads, ports, airports, pipeline, etc. that are required for the operation of what? Modern industrial nation. So this hard infrastructure is a kind of infrastructure which is helping your country to become a modern infrastructure nation. Plus, it provides you the physical network to go from one place to another. Okay. Now, the second, if I talk about soft infrastructure, this is a kind of infrastructure which is essential to keep running the economy. If you want that economy will keep running, you need essential infrastructures. That is financial institution like the banking institution. If you do not have financial institution, how you will be managing the money? Second, educational infrastructure. If you don't have educational infrastructure, you won't be having a proper skilled, proper educated laborers. And when they are not having a proper education, they will not get the better opportunity at the jobs. When they are not getting better opportunity, they will remain poor. Okay. Sorry. Now the healthcare. If you are not well in your health, you won't be providing the full efficiency in your work, full efforts in your work. So that's kind of somehow hurts the growth and development of the company as well as the nation. So we need a health infrastructure as well. All these are the soft infrastructure because they require to keep economy running. Okay. So it is also segregated as physical and social infrastructure. They are also providing you the physical network now. Hospitals are actually physically available. Schools are actually physically available. So they are providing you physical as well as social infrastructure. Social because it's helping out the people to provide them the health services, educational services, etc. Now, next we have our different types of infrastructure, in which we have first energy infrastructure. Like for example, it's very obvious energy is required to do any particular task. So if let's say we have a gas pipelines, we have a renewable energy, we have a solar power in the renewable energy, we have a wind power. So these are what? Energy infrastructure. To have a renewable energy, you need an infrastructure. Now, to have a gas or CNG or whatever kind of energy you want, you have to have infrastructure. So that's a energy infrastructure. Next, water management infrastructure. It's very obvious water management is a kind of a big deal, and it's right now a big issue for country as well because a lot of water pollution is there in the country. A lot of act was have been introduced to control this pollution, but still the water management infrastructure is required. Again, the pipelines you have. Now, communication infrastructure. For the communication infrastructure, we have telecom sector. Apart from that, internet is also one of the communication way by which you can communicate your ideas, your emotions, your feelings with the one another. Then we have a critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure is a kind of infrastructure which covers your broad people in the country, like broad people in the country, broad sectors in the country, like everything. When you cover the broad segment of the economy, that's a critical infrastructure. Like for example, your roads, your buildings, railways, airports, ports, airways, all these are the critical infrastructure because they all cover the broad segment of the country. Everybody needs this kind of infrastructure. Okay. Now the transport infrastructure, again, to go from one place to another, you need a transport infrastructure. Then urban infrastructure, to develop the or to provide all kinds of facilities to the urban areas, that you need a urban infrastructure. Then a green infrastructure, kind of an infrastructure which is related to the environment, like the national parks we have, wildlife sanctuaries we have, bioreserves we have, all these are the green infrastructure. Okay. So these are the type of infrastructure which are there we have to discuss in the detail. I have given you the just idea what are these. Out of all these types of infrastructure, critical infrastructure, green infrastructure, hard infrastructure, soft infrastructure, these are the four most important which have been seen in the paper that have been asked by the IABF. Okay. So this is all for today. Now there is one thing I want to tell you all, that yesterday I have started the particular batch for your English medium preparation. If you are looking for a dedicated platform where you will find everything which is required to clear your JAIIB, then you have to download the Adda 24/7 application. After downloading application, go to the JAIIB CIB section, then go to the JAIIB May 2024, click on the view all option. So you have three options here. Let's say if you are going to give all the 4 subjects, then you can go and enroll in this comprehensive batch. If or otherwise, second option you can have the JAIIB Mahapack. If only 1 or 2 subjects is remaining, you can have the individual batches as well, which you will find here. When you go scroll the page down, so you will find individual subject batches are available. Okay, all the individual subject batches are available. You can enroll in the individual batch as well. Now, what's the difference? In the Sankalp batch, if you are enrolling, you will get first conceptual classes, topic-wise test, full-length mock test, ebooks 24/7 recording. Everything will be available. In Mahapack, you will be getting the future upcoming batches as well. The revision batch, the power pack batch, let's say case study batch, whatever kind of batch will be introduced. Everything will be available for you after enrolling in the Mahapack of the JAIIB. Okay, right now Mahapack have double validity as well. If you enroll in the Sankalp batch, you will get 9 months validity. In the Mahapack, you will get 1 year validity at the very less price difference. So how to enroll? Just click on the particular product what you want to enroll. Do check the offerings of the product and then decide the validity. After deciding these two things, you have to use a code that will be your Y496 and click on the apply. When you apply, you will find here 80% discount. To get 1% additional discount, just use the coins which are available on the application. Okay, on the application coins are available, use them, you will get 1% additional discount. So in English medium batch, first AFM, second PPB already started from 20th of November. It means from yesterday. This have been started by Niharika ma'am. This have been started by me. From third subject of your will be IE and IFS. This will start from 8th of December. Fourth, your RBWM will also be start from 8th of December. Okay. Why we have started from the PPB? Why I haven't taken with the IE/IFS? Because PPB have a biggest syllabus. It have 55 units. So lengthiest syllabus you have out of 4 subjects is the PPB. So I will be taking both of your subjects, PPB and IE/IFS. Niharika ma'am will take the AFM. Vishal sir will take the retail banking. And these 2 subjects have been already started. Hana? The first 2 subjects have been already started. If you want to watch the demo session and orientation. Orientation happened yesterday and demo session will happen today at 8 to 9 p.m. on Officers at 24/7. So you can check that out. Okay, and to enroll, simply use the code Y496. You will get 81% discount and decide what particular batch you want to go with as per your convenience. Okay, and I would suggest the value for money will be if you enroll in the JAIIB Mahapack, because in the future the revision batch will be definitely required because the syllabus is very vast. You definitely be needing the revision batch in which we practice the question, we revise the very important parts from which definitely questions will be asked. So enroll as per your convenience. Apart from that, to join the YT session, always join at 7:30 a.m. from Monday to Friday. On Saturday, you will have a weekly revision session and on Sunday, you will have a special sessions. So this is how you can check on the YouTube session. In the playlist, all the recordings are available of all the subject sessions. And if you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment section. I will be checking your comment and answering them. Okay. And see you all in the evening, 8 to 9 p.m. for the first demo of your PPB subject. Okay. Thank you everyone. Have a good day. Take care.